most famous ghost story of the STT, Augustine Lighthouse, is based on a tragic accident that occurred in the 1800s. During the construction of the lighthouse keeper's 3 young daughters and a friend were playing near the construction site. While riding a cart on the tracks for fun, they lost control and the cart plunged into the water. 2 of the girls and their friend drowned. Visitors and staff report hearing children's laughter inside and around the lighthouse. Late at night, some claim to have seen the shadows of little girls. Some visitors even say they have felt a sudden tug or the touch of an unseen hand. One of the most frequently seen ghosts at the lighthouse is a shadowy figure believed to belong to a former lighthouse keeper. In 1859, a keeper named Peter Rasmussen worked here. He was dedicated to his job, but known for being strict and authoritative. After his death, people began noticing the scent of cigars lingering on the lighthouse stairs. Since Peter was known to be a cigar smoker, former employees believe that this scent is a sign of Rasmussen's lingering spirit. Sometimes heavy footsteps can be heard echoing on the lighthouse stairs, but when investigated, no one is there. Some visitors claim to have seen a woman in a white dress, a ghostly figure roaming the lighthouse. Many believe she was the wife of a former lighthouse keeper. Today, the lighthouse has become a popular destination for ghost hunters and paranormal researchers. Night tours are organized, and visitors are told about the lighthouse's haunted history. In fact, famous paranormal investigation shows, such as Ghost Hunters, have filmed episodes here. The St. Augustine Light Station is a privately maintained aid to navigation and an active, working lighthouse in St. Augustine, Florida. The current lighthouse stands at the north end of Anastasia Island and was built between 1871 and 1874. The tower is the second lighthouse tower in St. Augustine, the first being lit officially by the American territorial government in May 1824 as Florida's first lighthouse. However, both the Spanish and the British governments operated a major aid to navigation here, including a series of wooden watchtowers and beacons dating from 1565. The current lighthouse tower, original first-order Fresnel lens, and the light station grounds are owned by the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum, a not-for-profit maritime museum. The museum is open to the public 360 days a year. Admission fees support continued preservation of the lighthouse and 5 other historic structures. Admissions and museum memberships also fund programs in maritime archaeology, traditional wooden boat building, and maritime education. The nonprofit mission is to discover, preserve, present, and keep alive the stories of the nation's oldest port, as symbolized by our working STT. Augustine Lighthouse. St. Augustine was the site of the first lighthouse established in Florida by the new territorial American government in 1824. According to some archival records and maps, this official American lighthouse was placed on the site of an earlier watchtower built by the Spanish as early as the late 16th century. A map of St. Augustine made by Baptista Boazio in 1589, depicting Sir Francis Drake's attack on the city, shows an early wooden watchtower near the Spanish structure, which was described as a beacon in Drake's account. By 1737, Spanish authorities built a more permanent tower from coquina taken from a nearby quarry on the island. Archival records are inconclusive as to whether the Spanish used the coquina tower as a lighthouse, but it seems plausible given the levels of maritime trade by that time. The structure was regularly referred to as a lighthouse in documents including ship's logs and nautical charts dating to the British period beginning in 1763. In 1783, the Spanish once again took control of St. Augustine, and once again, the lighthouse was improved. Swiss-Canadian engineer and marine surveyor Joseph Frederick Wallet Despars marks a coquina lighthouse on Anastasia Island in his 1780 engraving, a plan of the harbor of St. Augustine. Jacques-Nicolas Belin, Royal French hydrographer, refers to the Coquina Tower as Abatazé in Volume I of Petit Atlas Maritime. The accuracy of these scholars is debated still. Desbarres' work includes some obvious errors, but Belin is considered highly qualified. His work provides an important reference to St. Augustine's geography and landmarks in 1764. Facing erosion and a changing coastline, the old tower crashed into the sea in 1880, but not before a new lighthouse was lit. Today, the tower ruins are a submerged archaeological site. Early lamps in the first tower burned lard oil. Multiple lamps with silver reflectors were replaced by a fourth-order Fresnel lens in 1855, greatly improving the lighthouse's range and eliminating some maintenance issues started at the beginning of the Civil War. Future Mayor Paul Arnau, a local Menorcan harbor master, along with the lightkeeper. A woman named Maria Mester de los Dolores Andrew, who, in this role, became the first Hispanic-American woman to serve in the Coast Guard, removed the lens from the old lighthouse and hid it in order to block Union shipping lanes as well as to help blockade runners remain hidden. The lens and clockworks were recovered after Arnau was held captive on a ship offshore and forced to reveal their location. By 1870, beach erosion was threatening the first lighthouse. Construction on a new light tower began in 1871 during Florida's Reconstruction period. In the meantime, a jetty of coquina and brush was built to protect the old tower. A trolley track brought building supplies from the ships at the dock. The new tower was completed in 1874 and put into service with a new first-order Fresnel lens. It was lit for the first time in October by keeper William Russell. Russell was the first lighthouse keeper of the new tower, and the only keeper to have worked both towers for 20 years. The site was manned by head keeper William A. Harn of Philadelphia. Major Harn was a Union War hero who had commanded his own battery at the Battle of Gettysburg. With his wife, Kate Skillen Harn of Maine, he had 6 daughters. The family was known for serving lemonade out on the porches of the keeper's house, which was constructed as a Victorian duplex during Harn's tenure. On August 31, 1886, the Charleston earthquake caused the tower to sway violently, according to the keeper's law, but there was no recorded damage done in 1885. After many experiments with different types of oils, the lamp was converted from lard oil to kerosene. During World War II, Coast Guard men and women trained in St. Augustine and used the lighthouse as a lookout post for enemy ships and submarines which frequented the coastline. In 1907, indoor plumbing reached the light station, followed by electricity in the keeper's quarters in 1925. The light itself was electrified in 1936 and automated in 1955. As the light was automated, positions for 3 keepers slowly dwindled down to 2 and then 1. No longer housing lighthouse families by the 1960s, the keeper's house was rented to local residents. Eventually, it was declared surplus, and St. John's County bought it in 1970. In that year, the house suffered a devastating fire at the hands of an unknown arsonist. In 1980, a small group of 15 women in the Junior Service League of St. Augustine signed a 99-year lease with the county for the keeper's house and surrounding grounds and began a massive restoration project. Shortly after the GSEL adopted the restoration, the League signed a 30-year lease with the Coast Guard to begin a restoration effort on the lighthouse tower itself. The lighthouse was subsequently placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1981. Due to the efforts of local preservationist and author Karen Harvey, the antique lens was functional until it was damaged by rifle fire in 1986, and 19 of the prisms were broken. Lamplighter Hank Mears called the FBI to investigate this crime. As the lens continued to weaken, the Coast Guard considered removing it and replacing it with a more modern airport beacon. Again championed by the GSEL, this plan was dismissed and the 2.7 meters tall lens was restored, with the help of retired Coast Guardsmen Joe Cocking and Nick Johnston. This was the first restoration of its kind in the nation. Cocking and Johnston continued to work with museum staff and care for the lens. Volunteers from Northrop Grumman Corporation and Florida Power and Light clean and inspect the lens and works every week. Today, the St. Augustine Light Station consists of the 150 meters 1874 tower, the 1876 Keeper's House, 2 summer kitchens added in 1886, a 1941 U.S. Coast Guard barracks, and a 1936 garage that was home to a Jeep repair facility during World War II. The site is also a National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration weather station. In 1994, the Lighthouse Museum of St. Augustine opened full-time to the public.